So one of the things I wanted to do was add a winch to this unit, and I had to buy the Dragonfire mount so that it would mount to their bumper, and then I ended up buying a Viper winch. Installation was really tight. I actually had to go in and file a couple spots on the body of the winch to get it to fit, but I got it, and then I wired it to a point, and then I had a dealer help me with finalizing the wiring, and it's a 4,000 pound Viper winch. So the winch has two controls. One is I mounted to the dash, and then the other control is in the glove compartment with a 9-foot cable so that you can run it from outside the vehicle. We added Can-Am A-arm protectors on the front. And I don't know, I felt strongly about putting those on there. I had them on the Commander as well. And then we also did the skid plate, full skid plates underneath, aluminum. We also did the rear A-arm protectors, aluminum skid plates, and skid plates on the rear. Now, while I'm on the subject of skid plates, the dealer told me that when you mount an aluminum skid plate underneath the motor, and then you have to replace the drive belt, basically you have to remove that entire skid plate to get to it. That could be a problem in the field, doing that kind of extensive work. So I am considering actually going in and maybe having a water jet cut a hole into the skid plate so I can access the drive belt casing, so I can change the belt in the field, and then mount a cover and a secondary cover on top of that so that it's easier to disassemble. However, if you see, there's 4 holes there, and I think they're there to help assist you in getting to those, like I think it's 5 bolts at the very bottom of the case. Also, these skid plates here, because of the Dragonfire Nurf bars or rock sliders, they had to be modified. I had to go in there and bandsaw some big, Twinkie sized slots out of there to make that fit. And it was only in that one spot, but I got them to work. However, the skid plates for the front of the unit, I could not get them to work with these particular Nurf bars. So here's another angle of the Nurf bars and where the skid plates wouldn't work. Basically what happens is the skid plate covers this area across here and around here and underneath. But because I installed these Nurf bars, it really doesn't need it now. So the Maverick, this new model, they really redesigned the rear end quite a bit, and they come with the Fox piggyback shocks. I mean, these things are awesome. They have rebound, you can fully adjustable. I mean, I'm not an expert on them, but we've been tweaking them and balancing these shocks out for the type of ride we want. But they're really nice. I mean, they're just so comfortable out in the trail. One of the things with the Maverick is that there's not a lot of surfaces to put your off-highway license. So I ended up making this little bracket and a U-bolt and mounted it, and that way I can mount the sticker right there. It's out of the way, it's not cluttering up everything, and it's symmetrical. Also, since we're back here, you may have noticed that these fenders here. It's like, what the hell is this? Well, these are pretty cool. One of the problems with the Maverick is the bed is completely open. So any mud and dust that swirls around in here just goes right up in there and into the back. And also it can get into the cab. I saw these mud fenders through CT Racing, and I thought they were pretty cool. They make them for the front too, but I didn't want to get into that. I felt the fronts are fine, but the backs definitely benefit from having this in here. There's a little bit of rattle. But it's only at a certain RPM and it's really low, so it doesn't happen very often. But there is a slight rattle, and personally it doesn't bother me. I've gotten used to it. But when you're running it, through the trails, it doesn't rattle. but they work out really well. And then on this side, they have them cut out so that you can get to your air filter, which is your Donaldson air filter right here. And also, this is a duckbill. In your manual, you'll see that, well, they recommend adding a duckbill if you do a lot of sand riding. You can see some dust coming out of there. And this just pops off, and it's just open. But if you're going to be running in wet conditions, then you definitely want to put on the stock one, because you don't want any water getting in there. Put that back on later. Anyways, this fit over here is a little tight. As I was saying, this bit over here is a little tight. This panel is actually bumping into the shock just a bit, so it doesn't really move. These were pretty easy to install, but so far I really like them. So as I was mentioning, as you can see, the bed of the Maverick is pretty open. There's all these holes with all these big gaps, so a lot of dust and debris can just flow up into the rear end here and into the cab. Hence why you want to have a net. And I have a coarse net. Now, I had a fine net. It's this fine mesh net in the Commander, and that helped a lot to keep the dust out of the cab. Now I was a little concerned with this one because it's one of these square nets. It's really open and it wouldn't reduce as much dust. But with the fenders that I installed down here, installing those fenders, having this rear tire back here, and I have 2 bags in here that I put in there, and the intercooler, and this net, the seats, plus there's a couple other things obstructing airflow to get into the cab. We hardly get any dust in there, so it's really nice. We swapped out the stock tires. I've used them on the Commander for quite a while, and they're basically just the big horns. They're meant for light mud, snow, sand, and terrain. It's kind of an all-purpose tire. But I do a lot of rocky desert running, and also we read an article that you want to go with the bigger tire because of the turbo in this unit. It kicks in and it can really spin you out. So they recommended going with the GBC Mongrel Kanati tires. And these are 30 by 10 by 14. And they're the same size all the way around. They're also 8-ply compared to, I believe, the big horns are 6-ply. So you get a lot more strength, and also you get more rubber on the road. I mean, these things work really well. It's a smooth ride. I really like them. And it helps lift the vehicle up and give you more. The only thing you have to be worried about is tire roll. So when you take a corner going pretty fast, you know, the tire can roll on itself and you can kind of feel it. And as far as air pressure, they recommend 14 PSI up to 20. And I'm running 16 on the front and about 17 on the back. And that feels pretty comfortable for me. I really felt strongly about having a spare tire. I mean, you can have a pump and a plug kit, but we went on a jamboree and we were with people that ended up getting flats and they were stuck. And if they didn't have a spare, basically they're screwed. Well, a lot of the riding we do, we cover a lot of miles out in the middle of nowhere, no cell reception. So being self-reliant is really important to me. So having a spare and a plug kit is a really good idea. Also, these tires have bead locks, which is really nice, and that's to keep, if you take a corner or if you hit a rock or something, it doesn't break the seal on the rim and all the air just pops out of the tire suddenly. So that's the benefit of bead locks. They're expensive, but they work really well. So here we have the Pro Armor Quickshot tire jack. And it's a pretty cool setup. It allows you to place the jack on the ground, and it has a large plate so that the jack doesn't sink into the dirt, sand, or mud. And then I just added a shovel to it. I get a lot of comments on the fire extinguisher. It looks like a NOS bottle. I bought a sticker and slapped it on there, and then ran a hose that's going basically nowhere. And it psychs some people out. Especially when I take it to have it serviced, and the first time the service guys saw it, they said, you know, that totally destroys your warranty. And I said, what, a fire extinguisher? And they got a kick out of that. Anyways, it's a quick release. I found this on eBay, and you just pull this out, and then the whole thing just comes right off, and you're ready to go. Okay, now to the Rotopax. Modesto Auto Restyling are the ones that mounted the dual Rotopax to the roll cage. And then they had two 4-gallon gas cans on there. And I took one off and sold it, and then I added the black box, which is storage, and then the white one, which is water. And being out in the middle of nowhere, you definitely want water, plenty of water. These come with locks, so people don't steal your stuff. And then we just loosen this up until we can get that turn like that, and then we can open this up. Oh, that one has to come all the way out. There we go. And now I can get into this kit, which is basically everything I need. This toolkit, and then a spare belt, and some other little accessories that are needed in case you break down or if you break a belt or something. So that's really convenient to have that all tucked away in there, self-contained. So once you get this back, screw this back in place and you lock it down, you just tighten it down to where you're happy with it. And then these locks, you just slide them in there and it relocks it. So everything's nice and secure. One of the things I did is, the gas can has the nozzle pointing upward, so it doesn't leak or anything. However, I did rotate this one so that the nozzle's pointing down. And what it allows me to do is I can crack this seal here. This is water. And then I can wash my hands, I can fill water bottles, and then seal it back up. So it makes it really convenient to have 2 gallons of water sitting there as a backup. Here we have a half windshield on the Maverick. This is a Can-Am model, which is just an accessory part. And I found that the half windshield on the Commander works much better than this one. It actually deflected a lot of the wind out of your face, where this one is a lot lower and it tends to allow more wind into your face. However, it doesn't obstruct your view to the road ahead of you, because a lot of times you're really focusing on the road closest to you for potholes and whatnot. And the Commander windshield was a little higher, and it would kind of be in the way, so you'd either be trying to look under it or look over it. And this one is low enough where you can see right over it. So, a couple pros and cons on the half windshields made by Can-Am. I had some of this carbon fiber Kydex laying around, and this looked ugly underneath, and I just dressed it up by heating it up and form fitting it around here and bolting it on. And that's the same for over here. These were initially bolts for your nets that came down across here, and they were just sticking out looking ugly, so I added the Kydex in there to help dress it up and streamline the lines of the design. These are visors, adjustable visors. One of the things I noticed when we got this unit, that this hood doesn't come out very far or come down. So when you're driving later in the day, you get a lot of sunlight shooting right in your face. So I ended up getting these Assault Industry visors, aluminum visors that really help. You can adjust them and keep the sun out of your eyes. They weren't cheap, but they are well made, they're really sturdy, and I'm pretty happy with them. Might be a little hard to see because it's daylight out, but these are the LED whip flagpoles in green. Modesto Auto Restyling are the ones that installed this into the bed like this, and I can just unscrew these and use these caps, and then you just put them on top of this just to seal it. I'll show you that in a minute. But these things are really bright at night. I mean, it just makes this thing glow. Someone was telling me that they saw me coming down the road and I looked like a freaking UFO. So when I'm not using the flags, I can unscrew them from their sockets and then just cap them with these. Keep the water and dust out. So since you can't mount boxes in the bed of the Maverick here, what can you do? Well, this is my solution. Harbor Freight found these bags. They're kind of reinforced. They have their own rollers, and then they have the handle, which you really don't need, but they add structure to the back of the bag, which is nice. So it keeps it upright, but it keeps it from collapsing. I have two of them, one on either side I put in the back. One has repair kit, tire kits, jumper cables, you know, stuff you need in case you get in a situation. The other bag is paper towels, any kind of extra clothing, jacket, stuff like that, gloves, goggles. So I'll put them in the back here and you can see how it looks. So looking from the inside or through the bed of the vehicle, you can see that I just bungee strapped it in there, and they stay pretty solid. They don't move around and pop out or anything like that, so they work really well. One thing when you're dealing with bags is you have to get them with big zippers, because if you don't, the dust gets in there and it will totally destroy the zipper. Also, after a good dusty run, you want to go in and blow it out with air, blow all the zippers out, and it'll make them last longer. So here's the bag in place on the side here. They go in pretty easy, and then it's easy to access stuff in there. This is rigid, so it acts like a windscreen, and it helps keep a lot of the debris out of the back of the cab, because it's blocking a lot of the dust from getting in there. But it's still, you need to have plenty of ventilation for your intercooler. And then also a lot of people bring drinks and stuff, so I got a soft ice chest, of course green. And this can be bungee strapped behind here. Stuff it back there, bungee that in there. It's far enough away from the intercooler. It does get a little warm, but it doesn't get hot on the bag, so the ice lasts all day. And that's just another quick storage area. So this really allows me to maximize the limited amount of space you have in the back of the Maverick. So the last bag is a large duffel that's water resistant. It's it has the rubber outer lining, a big thick zipper. Typically I carry like 2 rain jackets and then my emergency pack. So there's a first aid kit and other survival tools in case you get stranded overnight. One thing nice about this bag is it has a lip that keeps the dust off the zipper. So once it's zipped up, it seals it real nice, and you can get wet and it's not going to absorb any water. So as you can see, this bag isn't nearly full. I can still put more stuff in it if need be for longer trips. And then I just throw it on top of here, and then I use these straps here, run them across through these loops to secure the bag so it doesn't fly off. And then I use one in the back to secure it so it doesn't slide forward and backward all the time. And so far that's working out really good. So this roof rack is really handy because I can put more gear for longer trips up here, and I still have extra room. I also found this on eBay, this gear shift lever. The one that came with it, I was never really happy with them, and this one just looked really cool. It was billet and aluminum, and then I had, sandblasted it, and then used a fluorescent green gun coat on it, and then baked it. So it has a really good finish. But I'm really, this is just, it's a little something to trick it out. For those of you who aren't aware, the Can-Am units, typically the motor is in the middle of the vehicle, so right here in the center. So when you're sitting with the passenger, that motor is right next to you, and all that heat tends to radiate out of this center console. What I had done in the Commander and then also in this Maverick was disassembled it and insulated underneath it with these products here. And it is the Cool It Thermal Guard FR, and it's like a fiberglass with a foil, and then you use this adhesive here, the heavy duty spray adhesive. So you spray the underside of the console, and then you cut this out and lay it out and adhere it to it, And then around the edges, I use leak seal just to keep water from getting into the fiberglass material, just to help seal it. But this reduced the heat quite a bit, and it adds noise suppression, which is really nice. So it was a fair amount of work. I went under the seats and then over the console and onto the passenger side. So I used quite a bit of it. And then, like I said earlier, I also used it on the doors. Then, of course, I have my license to hunt zombies. Hey, it's a green vehicle. Come on, I had to go with it. So one of the things I had rigged up were two hydration bladders. You have our hose here, and then they're on a mully pack, and then the bladder's inside. I had gone in and tied up some paracord, and I mounted the bags onto the paracord, and then I just looped the molly straps onto the net in the back. That's to keep it from flopping around too much. But they hold quite a bit of water. The passenger and the driver has plenty of water. Using these cup holders down here wasn't very practical when you're wearing a helmet and it has a full face. But with these hydration packs, you can slip this tube under the helmet and still be able to drink while you're out on the trail without having to take your helmet off. So for me, that was a big plus. So as you can see here, I also added a gun rack that mounts across the roll cage. And it holds two pieces, and right now I have my compound bow sitting in there. So it holds it nicely. Also, I just use these little rubber ties that you see at Home Depot and whatnot just to hang on to this so it doesn't bounce around, and it works out really well. And then here you can see I have my M4 carbine mounted in there on that gun rack. It holds two firearms. You can probably stick a shotgun in there as well if you wanted to, but you don't need to use it just for firearms. You can use it for collapsible fishing rods or other long cylindrical gear that you can strap under the roof. So overall, it's pretty handy. I also added this net here, and that's convenient. So if you're wearing a hat or something, and because these things will blow your hat off, you can just throw them up top here. And it's just a quick, convenient way to throw gear up there. A couple other little things that help out. One is an eyeglass case, that seals. That way if you're carrying your sunglasses and your prescription glasses and suddenly it's dark, if you're gonna do night riding, then, well, you don't wanna be wearing sunglasses. Also, I added these lights up here to help illuminate in the cab. Driver and passenger has them. They are very helpful at night, because when you're out in the woods at night, you can't see anything. And even finding the controls in the cab are difficult, so this helps a lot. So here's the trailer that I'm pulling the Maverick with. I had a single axle, then I switched to a dual axle with brakes, and it's a lot more stable, especially with this heavier unit. So another item here is the Max UTV straps, ratchet straps that I bought, and these worked out really well. And they have nice soft protectors to go around your bumpers and everything to wrap around, and they're shorter than a automobile strap, and a set of 4 with a bag. They're about, what did these run? About $125, including tax and shipping.